Well. Let me tell you, every one of you who helped us deepen the five unity principles, that's what was so obviously perceivable to me, that you're alive. Lauren, the life force that's in you, even as you experience this cleansing process called a cold. Maya, off the charts with your bubbly aliveness. Tom, John, Deb, all of you so alive. It was like I had showed up at a party, at a celebration of God's children. Happy today to be alive. Happy to be breathing. Happy to be on this planet in this temporary incarnation that is for an eternal purpose, the purpose of our figuring out how to be joyful through thick and thin, how to be joyful and to maintain our peace, whether we are up or down. One of the writers of the scriptures said, I have learned a secret. I forget whether it was John or Paul, but they said, I have learned the secret. I have learned to be full and plentiful and grateful and joyful when I have a lot and when I don't have much at all. When my prayers seem to be answered in the way I would like them to be, and when God has a different plan. When things go my way, and when things don't go my way. When I get that job I wanted, when I lose that job I wanted. When I walked into the church and down the aisle and spoke my vows, and when I walked into the lawyer's office to apply for a divorce. I've learned to be joyful and grateful and happy to be alive when I am experiencing abundant health and vitality and vim and vigor. And when I have been laid out in pain under the influence of the appearance of disease, which is dis-ease, a lack of ease. I have learned the secret that it is not about my circumstances or the conditions in which I find myself. It is about the Spirit alive in me, my capacity to have an attitude of gratitude every day throughout the day, regardless of the news reports, regardless of anything other than my own capacity to be glad, to live while I'm alive. This brief dash, I cannot determine when it will end. I did not determine when it began. But how blessed am I to determine what happens in my dash, how I live my life, how I interpret my circumstances, what I do with what is. I'm thinking this morning about Jesus, the rule breaker, came to break the rules of religiousness, religiosity, the traditions, the rules, the dogmas that speak of division and exclusion and self-righteousness, and I'm me and you're not, we're us and they're not, we're right and they're wrong. We are the chosen ones and they are not chosen. He came to break those rules. He defied the traditions that were so important to the people. He said, your laws, which are written on tablets of stone, are not the laws of the God I call Abba. It is not the letter of the law that we must be accountable to. It is the spirit of the living God alive in us and in everyone that we are accountable to. Jesus, the lawbreaker, knowing that it was against the religious law to approach a woman in private, to lean in and have a conversation with her against the law of the Jewish religion. Does he care? Not about the letter of the law, only about the spirit of the living God, alive in him and in all women. I see him approaching a woman at the well, as he should not, yet does. I see him getting closer to her, which he should not, yet does. I see him sitting next to her, which he should not, yet does. I see him make eye contact, which he should not, yet does. And I see him speak intimately to her, which he should not, yet does. There's a Course in Miracles lesson where Jesus himself says, I am under no law but God's. And he invites us to take on that same responsibility, to refuse to be led and governed by any law but the law of God, to refuse to be governed by any law of segregation, specialness, better than thou-ness. This woman, who he so intimately has approached, is not a Jewess. That would look better by a bit. This is an outcast. This woman is an untouchable. She is a Samaritan. The Jews look down on the Samaritans, and their written laws, written in stone, have identified the Samaritan as less than us, unclean, to be avoided. They have it wrong. They are not right. We, the righteous, must keep a distance from them. It's as though she has COVID, and we need to keep a good amount of social distance, lest we pick it up. So Jesus, the lawbreaker, approaching a woman alone, getting close, sitting down near her, looking into her eyes, knowing everything about this woman. She, of course, is stunned. No other Jew has ever gotten close to her. They shun her and stay away. They adhere to the laws written in the books. They see her as unclean. They see her as less than. They see her and her people as the ones who have it wrong. They are not chosen. She is baffled and confused that this one man seems to beg to differ. She sees no judgment shining out of his eyes. She sees no condemnation. She sees that he sees her whole story of all of her mistakes, all of the things she should have done but didn't do, the things she should not have done but did, all the men, all the worldliness, all the heartbreak and the loneliness, the neediness. He sees it all. But he shines only love. No judgment. It's as though he sees me as part of himself. He begins to reveal that he knows pieces of her story, and she concurs. All of her desperation, all of her neediness, all of her wants, trying to get her security from men, trying to get her feeling of safety from men, her protection from men, her supply from men. He sees that she's been married a number of times and is now living with the man she calls her husband, yet is not. And not a trace of judgment shining out from his eyes. Only love. And after they speak, and she acknowledges, yes, you see my life. He says something she never expected to hear. Something she could never believe was even possible to be true. He said, woman, you are not your story. You are the holy child of God, in whom God is well pleased. She was changed, transformed, reborn. Oh my God, I am not the story of my pain. I am free to live again. I am reborn. Wait till I tell all the people I know. Jesus said, woman, if at all possible, could we just keep this between you and me? and God. She said, if it is possible. Yet after such an encounter, she found it to be impossible to keep it to herself. She ran back to her people and said, I met a man who told me I am not the story of my pain, and who invited me to live again. She ran and told everybody. I have been that woman at the well, drawing water from the well, and while doing so, believing fully and completely that who I am is the story of my pain. And I have been informed that such is not true. And I have been invited to live again. I took the biggest story of my pain. Why? I was filled with dysfunctions because of what happened to me when I was a child. The abuses, the molestations, the threats. I had a very good story of my pain, which I was living out. And one day, after being invited to, I reinterpreted all that happened. And it became the story of my victory. What made me strong. What increased my devotion to my relationship with the Almighty One. I rose above the story of my pain. It became the story of what made me strong and increased my devotion to loving the life I'm living for the rest of my dash. Today's daily word. I'm alive. And I gotta say it again. I evidenced it in you, Lauren. I evidenced it in you, Maya. I evidenced it in you, Tom. I evidenced it in you, John. I evidenced it in you, Deb. I evidence it in each and every one of you. One of my favorite encounters with Jesus in the scriptures is when he spoke, saying, I come that you might have life and that you have it more abundantly. I come that you might have life and that more abundantly. I didn't come to condemn the world. nor to shame you for your wrong. No, I've come to mend your broken heart and to give your life a song. I come that you might have life more abundantly. As in my cup runneth over abundance. Abundant life, abundant love, abundant peace, abundant prosperity, abundant joy, abundant wisdom, abundant consciousness of at oneness with my Creator and all of creation. I am not my story. I am God's glory. This is who and what I am. I say it again. I am not my story. I am God's glory. I say it again. I am not my story. I am God's glory. This is who and what I am. This is who and what you are. You are not your story. You are God's glory. I say it again. You are not your story. You are God's glory. I say it again. You are not your story. You are God's glory. God is in heaven, and heaven is in you. And holy is your name. God wants you to know you have nothing to fear, and that there is nothing and no one to blame. You've been informed. Your captivity is over. You've been informed. In truth, you're free. And so it is. If you're able to, just keep this between you and me and God. But if you can't keep it to yourself, go run and tell somebody. You are not your story. You are God's glory. Try that on for size. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Live that truth, you know. Namaste.